Not my fault that they're all bots.
Yeah,
All right.
obviously they should have learned how to dodge. Oh.
All right, so welcome to the Affray Halloween Update 0.15 Halloween Bash. We are so proud to have this event showcasing SCP-5K. The update went live yesterday, and what better way to celebrate everyone's favorite spooky season than by letting the horrible, tortured D-class out of their cells, the best of the best in QA testing, who are here to show you the new update, including the new body cam feature, as well as some of the new environments you can expect to traverse in our revamped Chapter 1. And we will have many members of the Affray development team coming in to say hello, to talk over this gameplay. Gooms, the ever stalwart community manager, who's been doing a fantastic job answering all of your questions and giving you support during the update. Give the people a nice hello, Gooms.
Hello.
And we also have Trey Bishop. Oh my God, he is wearing the signature. Look at this. He's got the D-class costume, the best cosplay, the only one in the world. He is in solidarity with his D-class bros, ready to take us through. So tell us, it has been a long road. What was the design direction that you guys were going for in terms of moving from 0 update 0.14 to 1.5?
The main objective for this update and everything moving forward has been to try to put as much focus as we can on behaviors of enemies, and also really laser focusing in on the our two main pillars, which is tactical gameplay and horror. And I think that makes itself evident once you play the game. We've got a lot of praise for how scary it is and how engaging and exciting the battles are. So we hope you guys like it.
Lot of fantastic work. So there was a lot of feedback, criticism that people were not necessarily in love with the gas can puzzles. What was the decision to kind of scale those elements back?
A lot of the decisions were based on just doing a trial and error. Now that we had the QA pipeline kind of firmly established, they did a lot of work with us to help us try to give a lot of things iterative process, right? Seeing what worked and what didn't. The main thing with puzzles, because they kind of have to exist in some way, but making sure that they don't feel like they're detracting from those tactical and horror elements that we want to focus on. So as long as they're complementing that, we're still keeping puzzles. But that was kind of the thing that led us down that road, was trying to make sure that they weren't disrupting the action or the horror.
So we got some of our D-class guys. You're kind of hanging out. Go. Walk us through this. Let's see some new gameplay of the new areas. So one of the most exciting features that really made me excited was the report to TOC, to actually have a character who you can interact with in SCP-5K, which really kind of gives it that more polished experience, which is the first major step of implementing the narrative. What was the sort of role you did in sort of defining the points where the narrative felt appropriate, as well as making sure it didn't disrupt the flow of multiplayer gameplay?
Hey, real quick before you guys proceed, could you turn the your webcams off? I want to see if it removes this limit on the viewing on the channel.
Yep.
Not the guys playing the game. Don't worry about it, you guys.
Does that make it a little clearer?
Yeah, no, it was putting a limit of 25 out of 25.
Okay.
And I think it's because of the webcams. So
all right,
yeah, let's not use those for this, just because of how many people.
Yeah. All right. Oh, that's a shame. All right. Well, I guess.
Sorry, continue.
Yeah. What was your question again, Isaac? About
it was about implementing the story in the report to TOC lines. What was the sort of philosophy?
So one thing that's really important is we want to make sure that we have two kinds of people that play the game. A lot of them are either SCP fans that are really well versed in all that lore, and they really want that. They want the story, and they want the documents and the bureaucracy of all the little notes and everything. But then we have other people who just want to play with their friends and run around and shoot guns and kill monsters. Reasonable, right? So trying to make sure that we can present narrative in this game, in a world where bureaucratic documents and red tape are abundant, we wanted to try to give players the agency of choosing how much and when they take in the story. And so the report to TOC is meant to do that. And also because the players don't really have characters like Left 4 Dead or Back 4 Blood has, where they're like specific personalities where they speak and they interact in unique ways. It's kind of a self-insert. And so one way we tried to sort of create an emotional tether for the players and for the game is to do that through the voice of a character that does have a personality, and that's Crow. That's the TOC kind of Overwatch command for the UIU, who is external and just trying to guide you as much as she can without having her own set of eyes in there and keep you calm. Because the UIU were not meant to deal with something like this, and you kind of get trapped in here during a containment breach, and you're having to sort of carry out this mission as, you know, the people that have to do it, but not the people that were meant to. And that's kind of the interesting thing about this. It's not because the UIU sucks. It's not because they're really the underdogs. It's just this, we're not really aware of what the scope of what's happening in Area 12 is yet. And it's kind of unraveling around us, and you're the ones finding out about it. Right now, the way that the TOC lines work and how we put them in the game is we just really wanted to get the mechanic working to showcase what it can do and to sort of help bridge the gap of understanding and telegraphing to the players like what they need to do, where they need to go, without hand holding them and making it feel annoying. And so that's why there's sort of these involuntary call-ins where she'll come and give you advice or kind of give you an objective. But otherwise, everything else is up to you reporting things. Currently, to see a reportable icon appear on something, you have to do the investigate mechanic. We actually want to change that, but we kind of ran out of time before we could push this out, where in the future, the primary important reportables with the little radio icons, those will be visible by default so that you know that they're there and you know that they're important. And that won't require the investigation to see them and interact with those. So everything that you're getting right now is only from the part at the beginning up to where we stopped sort of repolishing everything. But expect to see that some of the stuff will get shifted and changed, and we'll be adding more of it as we go throughout the rest of the game to 1.0. The way that we determined where we were placing things was just moments where we might have a question, where there wasn't a way to show it or teach it, where we wanted to do something more interesting than just a contextual window that breaks the immersion and says, you know, press F to do this. We want to try to find as many diegetic ways to present information as possible. And so we look for those moments to try to pinpoint where those things would happen.
Well, thank you for our D-class testers for being so generous. Proceed further into the level. And another great thing I would love to hear your thoughts on is one thing that's become exceptionally popular in the first-person shooter world is the body camera. It kind of gives this eerie level of immersion. It's the perfect addition for SCP-5K, and I believe it's also one of the aspects I've seen asked for a lot. So how difficult was it to implement the body cam? What was your philosophy? What games did you look at who you believe kind of got it right?
It was actually more difficult to implement just because of the sort of divide of opinions internally. Because reasonably so, body cam can be seen as just as much of a gimmick as anything. It's really not a core feature of the game for 5K, but it's something extra I thought would be fun to include because I'd seen people doing modding with the body cam footage, and with the nature of SCP stuff being like discovered documents, bureaucratic things, you know, recovered footage, old photographs, it seemed to me that the bigger fans of SCP would enjoy the sort of body cam sort of lens to look at this game through. Maybe they're going to make machinimas with it. I don't know. Maybe no one uses it at all. But it was really just something that we thought would be fun and be an optional thing to sort of enhance the horror side of things for those SCP fans.
Well, I am loving this footage. I hopefully can't wait to see it appear on TikTok or gameplay footage. I've seen a few videos. Winning Abyss asks, why does the D class wear the mask? I know you've sort of answered this in devlogs, but I guess since you were wearing it, any other interesting insights you can give us live about the iconic Afraid D class hoodie?
Sure. The most of the D class tend to be quite bashful, so I think they feel more comfortable when they're hiding their face. No, that's not the answer. The truth is, we really just felt bad for all the scientists who feel, they feel guilty every time they have to kill one of these guys or put them through rigorous tests. So for their convenience and comfort, we decided to put masks over the D class's faces so they didn't feel as human, and that just made everyone happier. So HR thought it was a good idea, and we all believed that it was a net positive. And generally, the ones that are wearing masks, they don't seem to be in any pain at all. We can't distinguish any kind of discomfort on their faces anymore, and so I think it was a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely perfect. Honestly, I can't wait till somehow get a licensing deal with Spirit Halloween and get those in stores so everyone can wear the D class mask, and then we can have a sort of a Dark Knight Rises kind of D class revolt.
Oh yeah, we can have an army of them.
That is the dream. I always love your costume. I just don't love the fact that it costs $1,500 to make. But someday we'll figure out a mass producible version.
Yeah, I think if we made one that wasn't actually like functioning in the way where it didn't have all the actual zippers and the bungees and everything, if it just looked like it had those things, it'd probably be a lot cheaper. But it's got a lot of moving parts and different seams and openings. I think that's what makes it so complicated.
We have another.
I'm not sure if you have the time to read the file on this place, or how much you know about the paranatural. But those could be from any number of things at Area 12. The Foundation has no shortage of things with claws.
God, I really love the voiceover lines. It's like the point where it becomes like a really cool tech demo to like feeling like a big retail release game. Just adds so much flavor.
Yeah, it really makes it feel more real, like there's people in the world with opinions and thoughts.
You need
Nice.
to get out of there.
Now all we just need is to get in the "Would you kindly" cutscene.
Would you kind?
I've got eyes open him before.
So this section, what was the sort of inspiration? Because I think was it the 0.13 update when this was first introduced? This kind of like introductory horror area.
Yeah, when I got put in charge of directing the project, one of the things I wanted to change was introducing players in a way that felt like it made sense. And right now, like for a while, actually, it probably still felt really nebulous to them why they were coming up here. The idea is we have a prologue section that we're building out that kind of leads up to the moment where you wake up in this space.
Ooh.
But it's important that you, in the prologue section, you'll get to see and understand what your mission briefing is, and then things kind of go to hell. But you'll also start off with all of your gear, and you know how cool you are, and you're awesome, and you've got all this cool shit. And then we immediately strip you of that, and because we do that, it makes you feel immediately vulnerable once you start in this place where you've been captured and interrogated, and you don't know where you are. That's why it's just the question marks for the location. And it's a good start for a video game so that you can have a gradual ramp up on getting your equipment back and figuring things out and getting your bearings, especially if you're starting the game fresh, right? We definitely wanted you to not just go in with all of your guns and be able to do whatever, because then it doesn't feel as challenging progression-wise for a video game.
Oh, that's really.
And I wanted to have a scary sort of like start to it that just immediately told you, oh, you're a bit in over your head. And 173, this was the perfect place to start them in a bit of a labyrinth kind of thing, where you didn't need bullets, but you kind of felt that ever lingering like sense of like, oh, I don't have any bullets, and I'm a little desperate about this, and I need to find weapons, I need to find ammo, I need to figure out where the hell I am and get back on my mission.
And I think I remember hearing people like, "Oh God, you can't make me face off with 173 this early in the game. What the hell?" So I definitely think it was a appreciated horror edition.
don't worry. Everyone that was concerned about starting with 173 in the game, this isn't the last time you're going to see them.
And who knows, maybe there'll be extra little twists. And another thing that people absolutely love, and maybe this might be a radical thing that no one has ever seen in the genre of horror shooters, is the fact that you have zombies that cannot be put down with headshots and then they get up. Where did you get the idea to violate the sacred rule of the double tap?
Well, it was actually a lot of people on the team that kind of workshopped the idea and played with it and tested it. It definitely wasn't something that I came up with on my own. But if you think about anytime you look at head trauma from victims that have tried to commit suicide and shoot themselves, sometimes it just goes wrong, and the bullet's going to ricochet in there, and it may not always do permanent lethal damage. And so it made sense that if you damage one of these guys in the head, there's always the possibility, there's like a small percentage of a chance that it won't do the job the first time. And I think that's an added little bit of like unexpected realism that I say realism loosely because it's a zombie, but it makes it interesting and kind of keeps you on your toes a little bit, especially when they, get back up.
Well, it reminds me of the, did you ever play oh yeah, I love this, this whole little combat sequence is fantastic. It reminds me of the, did you ever play the Resident Evil, remake of the very first game?
Oh yeah. Yes.
With the where you'd kill a zombie, and then if you didn't burn it, it had the chance of becoming a crimson head, with like a super zombie on steroids that would just rip you apart.
There was a period in time where we were considering and talking, myself and the technical director, about doing something similar, where it was sort of a burn them or boom them kind of approach, where like if you either exploded them or you caught them on fire, and that was really the only way to completely kill them permanently. But we ended up not going that route, at least for now. But there's some other things, some surprises with the zombies that we are working on to make them feel like less like zombies and more interesting and unique to this game beyond the headshot thing, and more like they belong in this SCP space. So I'm actually really excited for you guys to see how we handle that. And make them not just, typical zombies.
I've seen the prototype documents. It's really exciting stuff, especially if you pull off your vision. Obviously, I'm not going to... Yes, this is Napatrix. This is live gameplay. We also are live on YouTube. This is... we have gotten our D-Class, for anyone who's just starting here. These are our D-Class testers who have helped Q&A the game, and they are playing the update 0.5 live. So this is live gameplay from our intrepid hood-wearing D-Class testers.
By the way,
just
I wanted
make
to
sure.
say... Oh, go ahead, Gooms.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, like, if you guys find any bugs in the game, you just blame all the D-Class guys for not working hard enough. They didn't find the bugs, fast enough. So I just wanted to...
You guys are the cannon fodder. That's why you're D-Class. No, I do want to say thank you to all... I know all of you aren't here, and you're clearly not all the people that tested it, but all the D-Class from our community that volunteered to do so. You guys really helped a lot, and we really appreciate just that you respected the confidentiality thing, and that you played through the game and you gave us the feedback and you helped us make sure that this was as strong of an update as possible. It really means a lot. So thank you.
And thank you to everyone who's supported SCP-5K. When you've got a dedicated team, it takes a little bit of time to correct this shit. But, we have a little thread in the Affray workspace where we've been getting your good comments, and then we just share them and showcase the love. So it means so much to see people reacting so positively to, like, us, the team actually implementing the feedback that you requested. Orion asks, bought the game last night. It's really fun and can't wait to see what else you guys add. And Napatrix asks, oh wow, I'm in love. And Scarcheese says, you should take some inspiration from John Carpenter's The Thing. And to that I say, have you played the Antarctica level?
Oh, just wait. I'm a big fan of The Thing, so expect to see a lot of influence in the coming updates.
Yeah, stay tuned. And we hope it was definitely fun to surprise you guys, because the whole time
But it's not supposed to be here.
you were all very eager for news about it. So to like kind of like catch you off guard. I heard people in the comments saying, "Oh, it's probably going to come in November. Oh, they finally told us about it." And then to actually hit on the Halloween release date was super magical.
Yeah, it was a nice surprise. We wanted to make sure that everyone. This time, we wanted to make sure that you guys got the update when you expected it, and we decided to turn it on its head and just completely surprise you and not not send it when you expected it at all. Dropping it a little early was. We actually intended to drop it on Halloween Day, but again, because of thanks to all the testing and the QA and the hard work of the development team, we actually were able to release it a day early. So that was a nice surprise for everyone.
It was perfectly timed for the Steam sale, 20% off right now, and as well as a spooky Halloween with lots of body cam and fun and thrills and chills for all you boys and girls. Ooh, I love that noise. So I know that there was some work redone with the Resonator. What went into that for its like AI and design?
Well, with all of our monsters and even the guards, obviously we're improving the AI and the behavior for everything. The biggest thing with the Resonator and all of our other monsters is the nav mesh that gets built in the game, and making sure that they can pathfind and move around in ways that feels right and they don't get stuck as much. They still get stuck on things sometimes. It was important to us also with the Resonators to make them have the ability to jump and climb like we've been trying to get them to do for a long time, but these things are very difficult. It sounds like a simple. I wish there was a button in the editor where we could just click the make a monster run and jump or climb, but there's not one, and it's always this manual, tedious process. And because it's a multiplayer game, networking that and making sure that it looks consistent presents a lot of challenges and bugs. But we're making progress, and they're doing more now than they have before, and a lot of that was done specifically to support things like that pit fight.
Oh, so I know that the pit fight was a very unique design challenge that, like, originally the plan was to have the update out a little bit earlier, but rather than release it, what were the technical challenges in getting the pit fight up and running?
Oh, man. So Joel Bougier, our lead level designer, and the rest of his team all kind of worked together with programming to try to make that happen. We did go through so many iterations of that, and we just kept feeling like it wasn't landing as well as we wanted to. We'd always have issues either with the enemies bugging out or getting stuck or not spawning when they were supposed to, or the balancing being tough. But the hardest challenge was actually trying to make the mission clear and easy to understand, but challenging, but not so challenging that it was impossible to achieve while also fighting waves of monsters that are coming at you. Making that feel good and also conveyed in a way that was like presentationally satisfying was really, really, really hard. Especially because we haven't done a whole lot up till this point with sequencing and sort of like cutscene kind of things or like scripted moments. Trying to implement those things made that extremely tough. And we had to create a lot of new systems and scrap ideas completely once we were getting down to the wire. And we made the decision. We thought, we could just release this, but we feel like we can do better. And so we kind of buckled down and we put faith in ourselves and the level designers, and we saw it through. And what we got now, I think it was well worth it.
Well, that's always the scary thing when you're like trying to put in something that hasn't been seen in the game. It's kind of like a big swing. And the thing that's tricky about game development is you have to prototype, and sadly you don't know if it's fun until you actually have it working in the game.
The Fire X is planned, Reaper.
Karokshin Shock Trooper says, wanted to share with you guys, I've been playing the game for a long time. It's been so amazing to see all the changes you guys have made to the game. And in my nearly 100 hours, I can say it's amazing. # bring back Dave. So, when do you think we might potentially see Dave make his glorious return?
Oh, hopefully soon. I have so many ideas, and a lot of us do. A lot of us really love Dave, especially anyone that's done any writing for the game. it's actually a bit of a battle to try to resist the urge to spend time on Dave's mission right now, because it's not necessarily the important thing to work on right now, but it is important to us. And so like I'm just trying to wait. I'm hoping that it'll come out before 1.0 because I just want to get him back in there, but it may end up being a 1.0 thing, but we'll just have to wait and see.
And Haptrix asks, how's the progress on the PvP mode? I'm really enjoying it so far. I know it's definitely a priority, but your main priority is to deliver on the promise of SCP, which is like a great single player and co-op experience.
I mean, PvP mode's improving a little bit just naturally because of all the other things that we're kind of fixing and pushing along the way. New mechanics, the gun systems, and how. Well, I mean, we got customization now, of course, so that'll help a little bit in allowing players to kind of like distinguish each other a bit better. And I know it's not super important, but just looking a little different and making it clear who you're playing and fighting up against without having to read names, that's always nice. But yeah, I mean, we haven't worked on the PvP stuff specifically as our main focus in a while. Actually, the next thing I'd really like to work on is our wave survival. Got some pretty big plans about how we can handle that and make it fit and unique. But I'd probably get in trouble if I said any more.
That's always the balance of got to make sure that we don't reveal too much.
Yeah.
So what are we looking at here? This is a very interesting vertical platforming section.
Talking about this elevator shaft thing?
Yes.
With the glow sticks?
Mm-hmm. Because I remember... Oops, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I did enjoy the sort of environmental leading with the glow sticks. It was kind of like showing you where you needed to go.
Yeah. This vertical space was just an attempt at trying to find more interesting ways to navigate spaces. Before, it was just from the early like prototyping days when we first started this project, even before I was here, everything still relied very heavily on key cards and doors that use those key cards. That gets pretty tiresome after a while, and we had a lot of generator stuff going on too, which really didn't fit in once we started to have bigger generators. If you play something like The Last of Us, it's this big, huge, sort of wide linear kind of format where it's not quite open world, but it feels like a big open world. And the point is that it's out in the wilderness, and you're in cities and corner part towns. And so coming across large generators and things like that as consistent puzzle mechanics makes a lot of sense. But I'm kind of going on a tangent, but I'll come back to the verticality thing. With Area 12, we had to come up with ways to make the navigation feel interesting and specific to Area 12 as far as obstacles, but feel like it belongs enough that it's not jarring and doesn't take you out and make you go, wait, why is this here? It would be really hard to justify large generators every step of the way. But things like the containment breach doors, those are a lot easier to justify. Because if everything's locked down, you're going to run into those throughout the whole facility. And so having to deal with those, you're going to just expect it. And so it doesn't feel as tiresome because it feels like it belongs and it makes sense.
It doesn't break, it's the pretentious video game SAS say, the ludonarrative dissonance.
And in that same vein, going back to the verticality thing, that's just us trying to use the environment more and take advantage of things like vaulting, like you're doing now, going over these crates. And also with ladder climbing, once we finish getting that in and it's working. So that, there's crates to climb over, there's holes to crawl through, there's ladders to climb up, scaffolding to jump over, all things you would expect to encounter scenario-wise in a facility like this.
Well, it definitely does vary it up. And I have to say, Arc Erebus gave us a $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Arc Erebus. We appreciate it. This will be able to use to give the D-Class Happy Meals to thank them for their work. He says, "We're the money, chat. Give these hard workers some cash."
Yeah, we could do that sinful pizza party thing for the
Well, I've always wanted to do this. I want to figure out a way to do like a social media event where, have like food rewards and then just like send people DoorDash. But we have such an international fan base. I don't know how practical that would be.
Oh yeah, I'd be screwed. I don't get DoorDash where I'm at, so
Yeah,
I'm very hungry.
that's the one nightmare is that like you get this one guy who's like in the middle of like Russia or Sweden, and it's a place where they don't have Uber Eats or DoorDash, and you can't send it. But I do think that would be like really fun to like thank you for playing. You won. Oh, here we go, the Chicken Men.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're in one of my favorite areas that are new right now. Is really giving the 3199 guys a place to shine. My favorite thing about them, by the way, is 3199 is just a goofy ass monster idea. Like Chicken Man, come on, it sounds stupid. So I loved it. I loved the challenge of taking something that was goofy and silly, and like finding a way to make it feel disturbing and horrifying, so that it's kind of this nice thing where like if you hear about it first and then you encounter it, you're like, oh shit, I was wrong. This is not silly. I do not like this. That's the kind of thing I love doing. There's a lot of stuff in the SCP lore, monster-wise, or just the stories that exist that sound silly at face value, but there's interesting ways you can adapt and sort of present them in a sort of grounded way visually, and that's really been a lot of fun.
You did a great job with the Chicken Man nest. I thought that was a very inspired addition to have this sort of like grotesque biomesh. Because originally the Chicken Men, I feel like in the last update they didn't really have a super way to shine. I guess what sort of went into kind of like building an area to kind of like let them showcase and really stand out in this horrifying bio nest?
I've got to get a lot of credit to one of our level designers, Luis, who I believe worked on a lot of other big projects. I think they worked on God of War Ragnarok as well. Ooh. But I kind of just sat down with them and the lead, Joel, and we talked about like what we want to do. And Luis had some ideas of their own. They wanted to try to push and extend our warehouse area to make better use of those ideas. And they really kind of took it and made it their own and ran with it. And like, this is like miles beyond like even just my initial imagining of how they would behave and work and exist in this kind of space. And it's wonderful. The actual the baby thing under the elevator, I gotta say, it was a funny story. When they showed me the gray box kind of walkthrough of it, it was just, there were no gates there, and it was just eggs. And they thought, oh, this will be really brutal. We'll crush the eggs and we'll make the 3199 mad at us. And I was like, I don't want to do this, actually. I want you to pull the eggs out of there. And they were like, oh. And I was like, and I want you to put babies there instead.
Because I think people were asking for like the little babies, and you have delivered. They can't attack you yet, but having them there is like a great asset.
Oh, I'm glad that they loved the idea, and they really made it horrible and disturbing, and it was fun. Like we've been trying to make a habit of not just making things tactical and horror, but like finding opportunities like this. They're kind of like dark farming things where you're like faced with these these consequences to your actions, where like you really can't do anything about it. Like, and you kind of feel bad, but also you needed to do it. But they're monsters, but you still feel bad. I think those are great moments to have.
Little desperation moments where here they come.
Yeah.
And I think
here.
a wild Al Barney has appeared. The technical director of SCP-5K has come to join us on this wonderful Halloween celebration night. Al Barney, anything you'd like to tell us about the Chicken Men?
Oh yeah, so my favorite thing about that, because this area came in fairly late in development, so we were sort of all hands on deck helping on that. And so I got to do the sequence for the squashing of them. My favorite thing about that is like I added a bunch of blood decals so that when they get squished, like if you wait let's say 15 seconds, you'll actually see the blood start to pool out and spread out from underneath the elevator. It's horrifying, but it was fun.
That was like the clearest indication to me that you and I both need to go to therapy, because I had the idea and I hadn't talked to you about it yet, and you had already done it, and so it's like,
yeah,
oh god,
Trey was like coming in, hey, let's do that, and then it sees what it was. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So, Albarni, what do you think was the biggest technical challenge of update 015? Trey was talking a bit about the pit fight set piece, how that was, but I guess, was it the shutter? Was it the new checkpoints? What are you like most proud of, or what do you think was most difficult?
Oh, that's interesting. I would say, so there's actually a new system in this update that is not really mentioned very much. But it's the significant system that we introduced. So there's like a lot of bugs that come from the fact that we unload areas when you're not in them, right? Especially like when you're on a server, you need to get as much performance out of that server as possible, because you'll have like, 4 to 8 people in it potentially. So we had issues in the past where like you die and you load into a new area, and then all your guns would fall outside of the map, and all of the dead bodies would fall outside of the map, and stuff like that. And if you went too far from the host, this is a long time ago, your whole character would just fall through the floor. So the cool thing in this update that we're able to do is tap into a sort of underlying system in Unreal, and so essentially, whenever an area gets unloaded, all of the AI items, stuff like that, in that area will understand that they're unloaded and sort of freeze themselves. And now AI actually switches to a special mode where instead of like using the physics and the collision of the space, they'll just use the navigation, and they'll sort of float along the floor, because the floor doesn't exist anymore, until they get into an area that is loaded in and stuff like that. So it has a lot better performance for when there's a whole load of characters who are like far away and stuff. It also allows us to keep the dead bodies and your guns and stuff around after you die, so that you can actually get back into the action and pick up your gun again. So the consequence is like not huge, but it was a lot of work to get that all together, and it helps performance overall, especially on systems with weaker CPUs and stuff.
Well, it's always the nightmare of designing for PC gaming, is the fact that you never have a consistent hardware, so you have to be versatile.
Yeah.
One of the challenging things also about the pit fight was, it's not just technical challenges that face us whenever we do things. Like, we did a lot of work that we had to remove because it just wasn't supporting like the overall intended like gameplay requirements that we had, which was communicating to the player where they needed to go and making sure they were paying attention to the right things and that they understood what was happening. So like, moment of silence for one of our team members, Vinny. He made some great sequences where you see up to the left, there's like a resonator that kind of pops out and makes a sound, and it runs off, and then it scampers down to the pit area ahead of you. And there was some things during the pit where like cars were sinking down into the ground from the shifting the earth around this explosion, but we needed like the things that were just not in the right place at the right time, or it was hard to convey what was happening. We had to kind of remove those things, and hopefully we'll find another way to use them still elsewhere. But sometimes just getting stuff to like communicate and read well, it just doesn't work right, or even just like sight lines and making sure that the players are looking where we need them to look. It's stuff that can be missed, and you got to keep in mind, and it doesn't always work, even if something looks good. Sometimes you just have to change things.
Yeah, like if you walk into the pit, you'll see up to your left, like there's this really cool catwalk, and there's like really nice lighting up there. And you're like, oh wow, there's so much detail there. It's because we had originally that sequence was up there. But the problem was, you hear the sound, you see this resonator, and everyone looks to the left, which is in the opposite direction from the big door that we're trying to get you to. So we had to move everything over to the right and try and focus the sound and the detail there, because that's where the players need to go ultimately.
Good job.
I think luckily we were able to keep some of the car sequences. It was just originally, instead of like turning off the gas valves, you had to actually turn on the gas valves, and you were going to explode this area, like explode this pocket of gas underneath a truck. But like what we found when we did testing, and this was partly like this, getting this sequence right was partly why we decided to delay the 0.15 update. But like, it doesn't make sense to a lot of people when you're going into an area that's full of fire and stuff. Oh, I want to blow up more stuff. So we ended up like pivoting and like it turned out really, really well. And Charch, our particle guide, made these incredible sort of jets of flame for the gas things that really showed the intensity.
Whenever we're doing any kind of game design for this project, the constant struggle is we have a game that is sort of realistic looking, right? And it's advertised as a grounded and realistic game. And when you're doing game design, there's certain affordances that exist already. Like you see a door in a video game, you already kind of know it has a doorknob. I could probably go interact with that and I can open it and it works like a door. But whenever you're trying to explain sequences to a player in an event like that pit fight, like Barney was saying, turning on fire to explode something, it makes sense from a video game approach. But because players are in the mindset of looking at this realistically as they go through, they're not always going to see that the way that we do from that design perspective. And we have to try to like balance those things between what feels right and makes sense realistically, but also works gameplay wise. And that's really the balancing act we play.
Yeah, the other thing we've learned is people do not enjoy picking up gas cans. We had a couple of tries at that puzzle. It didn't pan out. Everyone's like, no gas cans, please. It worked out much better this way around. I really
just watch though. You're gonna get like a someone who's going to be like, man, SCP-5K was better when the gas can. I miss the gas can.
We made jokes about that ourselves, yeah. we expect to see someone be like,
we actually gas cans. We did get a couple of people who were like, oh, I really enjoyed it with the like more puzzles in, and it's like, well, some people like it. That's fun,
yeah. But it reminds me of back in the day when people were complaining that it was nothing but zombies. We were like, yeah, we hear you. We want this to be SCP focused, but the zombies were always kind of this placeholder thing. And once we started whittling down the zombies and putting in more monsters, a lot of people started going, oh, I miss shooting zombies. I'm like, what do you want?
Although there is one...
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
There is one tragedy I must have you address for this crowd. Bepis, Conk, what happened? Why does it not exist in the... why is it not in the opening area anymore?
Oh, is there no more vending machines that say Bepis?
No, now we've got Doctor and Radioactive.
Huh.
Oh, I think I guess in the open area there's different vending machines. We still have the Bebbers Conk in other areas, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perhaps they moved around the vending machines.
So it's not gone entirely.
No, not gone.
You can actually see on Fishbird screen. I don't know how to. Oh, no, on Bugs Eaton's screen, you can see they've actually got one of the Beepers things in front of them. It's not gone. I would never take that from you.
I love it. I think it's a fantastic fake brand. My dream is in the day when we eventually have like a booth at PAX or like one of the video game expos, we could have like some like white label Bepis cans that you can give out to people who come to the booth.
Maybe we could do a. We could get a brand new deal or something.
I've already
one of the major soft drink retailers.
I have already been contacting like soda companies off and on and been like, hey, could we get some like custom label orders of some of these drinks? But I wanted to try to get them to make like a cola with banana flavoring in it because we have the banana Bepis. I really want it.
That would be insane.
Because finish your thought.
Find out we always find out like it's surprising. You just talk to people, like you just send them a message, and they're surprisingly willing to do stupid stuff with you, like or cool stuff as well. But like people there's so many things that you would never think to reach out for, and it turns out people are totally down for it.
Jack the Jack is a really interesting question. I guess you were all still working on SCP-3199 AI. Would be awesome if they could properly stalk us and similar to the dogs in Dead Space 2, or would it be super difficult to implement?
Yeah, if you're talking about the things that kind of like peek around like corners and stuff at you, that was actually, I think, one of the monsters I referenced from Dead Space when we were discussing them. Those and the sort of stalkers from The Last of Us. I liked the idea of something that was smart enough to have self-preservation and kind of keep out from being in the open and being shootable, because Duck Hunt comes to mind, right, with Chicken Men. And we wanted them to feel threatening, and like this big stupid dumb thing, making it feel a little bit smarter was the thing that makes it scary to me. We even referenced velociraptors from the first Jurassic Park, like the kitchen scene. Yeah, them just moving between things and hiding behind stuff. That's kind of been the overall goal. I don't know how much further we intend to be able to try to nail that down, but I mean, we're going to keep pushing the behavior on our enemies and polishing it up as much as we can.
Yeah,
but
well,
that's
I think to
idea.
build off of that, one of the interesting things, we do have a behavior for like hiding behind things and stuff like that. But one of the big things that we've found when we're working on this kind of AI is like it's all about indication. For example, on a different end of it, we have the resonators where often you can actually hide from them, because if you don't make a sound, they don't know where you are. But indicating that, like, we don't currently indicate that quite as much as I would like, because people don't even know. And so that's the same thing with the 3199. They will try and hide behind crates and stuff and like come out behind you, but like unless you see it, like, you know, seeing is believing. Unless you see it, you don't realize. And we don't have, like, maybe if we added special sounds and special animations and stuff, that would be more obvious. But like that's the big thing, is it's not just making something happen with AI, it's telling the player that that's happening. And there's been lots of like tests where people have figured out that like they can have two versions of AI that are completely the same, or even one that's smarter than the other. But if the dumber AI is actually communicating about what they're doing, all the players will think that they're smarter, because players, what they want to see is a character that they can understand what they're doing, and not necessarily actually just a character that's smarter.
Yeah, we want to try to make sure that we have 3 distinct enemy states that you can distinguish from each other, audibly, visually, and just like the way they move and everything. With some of these, it's more challenging than others. I know we have a lot of ideas on how we're going to solve that with 173B, for example, but it is tricky trying to figure out how you change the enemy state of something that doesn't have a facial expression and isn't supposed to move while you're looking at it. But we've been able to find some interesting solutions, at least. Hey, look, there's one of the Beppis. There you go.
It lives. And I gotta ask though, was that a Half-Life reference with the crowbar and the useful for fighting crab monsters?
I don't know what you're talking about. We have crab monsters in the game, and it's a crowbar. What do you want from me?
No connection to Big Daddy Newell's series that he neglects.
Half-Life 3 confirmed.
Yeah, I actually just thought.
How old I am.
Yeah, I actually just thought of another answer to that question that you asked before. Like, what was one of the biggest challenges on point 15? Because just looking at these zombies, I remember getting them to get back up. Was such.
You guys have been working on that for a while, not just.
We've been working on that for a while. We actually worked on that for point 14, and we had it working, but it was just there was too many bugs. We had to remove it. And you know, that's in point 14 too many bugs. So you can imagine. So we actually had to come right back to it and take another approach, because the difficulty is when you have a ragdoll in the game, generally it's not networked. So like all the character will die in different places on different screens. But when you need them to get back up and go back into networked behavior, like in multiplayer, you need to make that ragdoll in roughly the same place. So we had to do a lot of work with like roughly syncing the position of the ragdoll, like sort of dragging it over using forces and stuff like that in the game, but also like a lot of stuff with interpolation, because you have to switch from the ragdoll, which is completely physics based, to the animation and make that feel kind of smooth. It's still a little bit like sometimes they'll be pulled over a little bit if you're on a dedicated server or playing with a lot of ping. But I'm pretty happy with it. Like I've been having immense satisfaction when like people playing the game on YouTube or where they've shared videos and like they turn around and the zombie's getting up and it's
They're always
that's
surprised.
Yeah.
It's kind of the sad thing that happens is that, like how Barney said, we worked on that since as far back as before 0.14 came out. There's always so many things that we're working on already that have been removed or cut from updates, and we want to include, and we're just like it may not be working well enough, and so we have to remove it. And then then the drawback is someone might go, oh, this feels like a bit of an empty update because we're missing some of the things that they aren't working yet. We don't want to put them in there and they're broken. And it's also like, I don't know about you, Barney, but I always feel like it's tough to respond to people. One, because I don't want to spoil things, but two, because I want them to know that we're listening and that we hear them. But they'll all the time in the Discord or on Twitter or on YouTube, they'll say, "Oh, you guys should add this and this and this and this," or "You guys should consider this." I'm like, we are, but I don't want to like. I want you to know that I'm listening to your feedback, but I also don't want to come and be like, "We already thought of that," and I also don't want to say we're doing it and then spoil the surprise. So there's like three problems there that worry me all the time.
Sometimes I'll just respond with a winky face.
Just a winking face. That's a good way.
It is like a fantastic way, but it is like this is always the most fun where you finally get to see all the stuff that's been kind of like reached, and the fact that like you guys are all saying that you really enjoy it. Is this the beginning of the pit fight?
Not the pit, but this is the guards standoff.
Yeah, this is just before the pit. It's nice to have like a proper gunfight in the because. We like in I think 0.14 we removed the big server room gunfight, which was a real shame. We didn't want to remove it. It's just it didn't have a place in the sequence. At least right now it doesn't. Like in the future, because like that was the big gunfight in the game, and so we added a couple more in. But this was an opportunity to make a sequence that really is, like with the car doors that you can use for cover and shooting through the windscreen. It's really focused on that gunfight set piece.
The cars are actually a good example of things that we still haven't quite finished. Like we have other functionality that the cars will serve, but we just didn't get to finish implementing for this. And we also didn't even have time to go through and finish placing things like health that you could find inside the cars, which would be super convenient. But it's amazing how you run out of time just to run around and put like ammo and health pickups.
Yeah. Yeah, like opening the trunk and having like some ammo or health in there would be really nice.
Because then hidden one of these trunks that or it's not a trunk. I think it's just the back of the truck, but it was something I requested and they put it in. If anyone finds it, I think Joel hit something else as well that's like super special.
Yeah. Someone has found the other thing, but they don't know what it does.
Oh, they don't? That'll be fun when they find it out.
They're trying to figure out what it does. Oh, that's interesting use of on Bugs Eden screen of the back tray of the truck. Using that as cover. That's fun. And also like so. The great thing about the
oh, there it is.
Is it on someone else's screen?
Yeah, it's on the.
Nice. Audio. I just put all of them up. One of the interesting things. So we added in either 0.13 or 0.14, like the shootable glass, which like has a nice shatter pattern when wherever you shoot it. And then like someone I don't know if it was a level designer was like, yeah, I want to make all the windows of the cars and trucks shootable. I'm like, okay. And like it takes a system that was kind of working already, but like I had to make it so much more functional to make it work on like all these different moving car doors on the same object, and like get the networking to feel good and stuff like that. Because originally like there was a huge delay, even if you had low ping, like you'd shoot it, and then if you're on a server, it just like takes a second to shatter, and that feels really bad if you need to be able to like use it in the gunfight.
Yeah, it's probably my fault. Aside from the doors opening and being able to do some other things, I wanted to be able to shoot through the glass because of the purpose of the cars was to really build up a gunfight arena with them and making them feel like an interesting object to engage with, using it as cover or being able to shoot through things. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my
Well, it was a good opportunity. One of our programmers, Mitchell, for the car doors, but we can use it elsewhere, made this whole like sort of cabinet style door system where you can have multiple doors on one object and they're all interactable, and like the level designers can make them like slightly ajar or closed and stuff like that. So it was a good excuse to develop a system like that, and also sort of uncovered many other things. Like the investigation system originally could only show one investigatable per object, but that doesn't work when you have like 8 car doors. So all these things, it exposed all these missing features that we had to add in to make it really special, and it'll be helpful for other areas.
Well, it goes to show you how, like, you know, something as simple as like a car door opening brings up a whole bunch of new technical difficulties and challenges.
Yeah, exactly.
Even something as simple as the breaking the glass to on the door in the intro cells when you wake up in that beginning area, and so that you can unlock the door and get out. That's something we've wanted to have in the game since last year, but you know, it presents little tiny problems and things that affect other things, and it wasn't something we kind of got in until now, but we still had some funny bugs with it. I noticed, I watched someone stream earlier today, and they were using their gun that they found to hit the glass, but they were actually, just by happenstance, they were hitting the door itself, and when they hit the door enough times, eventually the door actually goes and like it just disappeared. They're like, wait, what? I didn't even know that happened. So
yeah, I think I watched one of those, and it seems like it went through them, so it actually fell through the character's face and went and landed behind them, which was interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take another pass at that, so that when you're hitting it, you'll like prioritize hitting the glass rather than the whole door. This was an example of an interesting fight that had a surprising amount of problems. Because right now, you know, our D-class, D-boys went through and, like, you know, guns blazing, killed them all. But you can also go through this sequence completely silently, because the resonators, if they don't hear you, they won't attack you. And that was a huge pain, because originally, like, we have all these dead bodies here, but until now, we didn't have a, and when I say now, I mean literally after this update went live, we didn't have a AI direction system. So, like, the level designers placed down a bunch of resonators, and they placed down a bunch of bodies, but getting the resonators to actually eat the bodies instead of just wandering around was a big pain, because originally, like, some of them would go and eat, and then the others would just come up, and like, the resonators don't know about the players, so they'll just walk past them, and then players would think, oh no, I'm being attacked, and then shoot them, and so ruin the whole experience. So that took a lot of work to get them to actually just consistently go and eat the bodies instead of wandering around, so that the players can actually sort of get the inkling that they might be able to go through without shooting for one.
That's funny, because it seems like a simple thing to do with like a scripted sequence of like making sure that the enemy behavior follows to keep the creepy scene. But it's so easy to like just completely break the immersion, or they just don't do the eating of the corpses.
Yeah. Oh no, it's the D class. No.
Oh.
That reminds me to get a D class skin for the D class. Yeah.
it's okay. You can't see their faces. Remember, it's totally convenient.
Yeah.
You don't have to pretend. You can pretend that they're not people. They don't exist. They don't even matter. It's all right.
Will the D class be getting voice lines like the bark lines of the security troops?
Yeah, they have bark lines already. I think you mostly hear them in the
not when they're dead.
Yeah, not those ones aren't gonna have any voice lines because they're just they're dead. Fun fact: we do have authentic recordings though of silence from dead bodies that we used for those dead bodies in the game.
We recorded like complete silence and put it on there. So the fact that you can't hear it is actually very immersive.
So, we have not one, not two, but 3 new weapons. What made you choose the MP9? The Lynx is, I know, a very hyped weapon because it's an anti-material rifle. And the Draco AK.
Barney, if you let me talk about the Lynx, I'll let you talk about the other two.
Yeah. So the MP9 is an interesting one, and I guess the Draco as well, because like we have a lot of weapons in the game, so we have to sort of often come up with excuses for what weapons we want to put in. But this time around, the thing we realized, especially like spending a lot more time working on the intro area, is we have a big lacking, or at least we had a big lacking in mid to trash tier weapons. All of our weapons were too good, and like we wanted to give the players more of a build up. So when we realized, that like MP9 was on our list, like we have a big list of all the weapons we want to put on for various different reasons, whether it's factions, story, or anything else. And so we looked at the MP9, and we'd already sort of started working on it. It's like, this is perfect. So we did a lot of balancing to make that one like bad. Relative, like it does like just 1 damage point less than it would need to like be a 3-hit kill when not hitting armor and stuff like that, so that it just takes a little bit more time to shoot them. Its recoil is actually able, as opposed to every other weapon in the game, its recoil is occasionally able to go down instead of up, meaning you can't just pull down because sometimes you'll overshoot. And it has a lot of horizontal recoil, and it's also very inaccurate at long range, which, I mean, who would try and use an MP9 at long range? The point being, like, it's a spray and pray, high fire rate, just like litter the wall with bullets and hope one of them hits your target kind of weapon. Which is perfect for like the first automatic weapon you get in the game. Is like, it's not meant to be good. Similarly for the Draco, it's like a different approach. It's more like it's an assault rifle style weapon, except it having a short barrel and high recoil and stuff like that gives us a lot of opportunity to make it like not as good as like something like an MK18 or one of the traditional.
Okay, so as far as the Lynx goes, there's kind of 2 reasons to that. Barney and I spent a few different meetings off and on, like kind of discussing how we would create special guns that the Foundation would have and how they would use them, in doing so from that sort of grounded aesthetic approach. And it's been difficult because the thing that we want to maintain is that what we label as the special sort of sauce for our game is that it's normal non-special weapons going against these creatures that are unpredictable, that are anomalous and have weird properties. And so you're kind of at a disadvantage. If you were able to just go into this facility and pick up special SCP killing guns, then you're just kind of on the same playing field, and then it's just an action game and it's not horror and you don't feel vulnerable. So it was important to make sure that we were finding real guns that felt like they could be modified or had unique ammo used with them as SDP containment or killing weapons. And so to that end, we started looking at things like, I think I talked to our 3D artist lead, Dean, and I said, what would be the equivalent of like a modern elephant killing rifle, right? And and so we started looking at all these things because we have a big SCP that or monster, I guess I should say, that we might really benefit from having something like the Lynx. But there was actually a second reason why we picked the Lynx, and it was because I wanted to have something that felt like it could be like a rifle that you could hold, but obviously if you're carrying this thing, it looks way too big. Like, it's not meant to be something you can just run around with in a field and do combat with. But we do have a character that I'm not allowed to talk about that it wouldn't look as disproportionate on them as it would on, let's say, normal people.
Yeah, that was the funny thing when people were asking, why did you add the Lynx? And why can't we use it yet? It's like, I can't tell you.
We can't tell you.
In a while, maybe, eventually.
I don't think we'll
Ooh.
ever tell them until they find out, like officially.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
That's like it's like one of the biggest things that I'm excited about for this game, and I'm just so frustrated that I can't talk about it. But I want.
In the meantime, though, the Lynx is I'd love that guy. The fact that the barrel is like recoiling itself like the is just so satisfying to play with.
So would
The
you
animations on it are fucking great.
would you almost say that it's kind of like the equivalent of like Resident Evil 3 the remake where Jill Valentine fights the Nemesis for the last time and she uses super mega laser gun and she's like, "You're going down." And that we might get an equivalent of like of what the SCP-5K version is with the Lynx.
Kind of. I'll say this much: you'll get to enjoy like the cool, powerful qualities of this Lynx and what it's like to use it as a weapon. But
Looking
point
at
of
you
why
right
we
now,
added-
Trey.
what?
Careful.
Well, I hope it's not too much, but the point of why we added it was less about you shooting it and more about getting shot at with it.
Ooh, that's cool. But it'll eventually be available in multiplayer and PvP, right?
Maybe it's an interesting thing because it's such a powerful weapon, right? Like we had some. I was playing on one of the community servers, and someone like one of the admins had gotten the in for themselves, which was fun. But like, I think we'd probably have to figure out some way to limit the usage of the Lynx because like compared to we have the M24, which is like a bolt action rifle. Like Lynx versus M24, one of them is definitely winning, and it's not the M24. So you need some factor to limit the usage of it.
And so, just out of curiosity, did the zombies with the fire present any technical or design challenges? Or was that easy, just like swapping it out? Or was the physics of the fire, something you needed to be concerned about for not overtaxing people's system?
Oh, that one's fun, actually. So, the fire zombies originally didn't exist in the first version of the pit. Didn't exist at all, because they're just the burning corpses that we have placed around. But in order to make them like easily posable, one of our character artists, Sterling, like made this character, and it looked amazing, like way better quality than you'd expect for an environmental model. But in order to make them posable, he put them on our rig so that the animators can like set up a bunch of poses for them. But then, like, I was looking at that, I'm like, well, we've got a full character here. You've just made a new character. And I had a little testing thing where I'd put a fire particle on one of the zombies. We hadn't used it yet. I'm like, what if we just put it in as an enemy? Like, we have all these flames everywhere. Like, let's make the flaming zombies. And so we put it in, and everyone loved it. And it was like, okay, let's go the fun mile.
Yeah, it wasn't an official planned thing. It just kind of happened because we took the time for iteration and didn't rush it out. I think if we'd released this on time, then, or at least the window that we originally aimed for, then we would have not had as many of the cool things that are in it right now that we do have.
Yeah. Also, the fun thing, because they're flaming zombies, the fire will only go out when they're actually dead. So if you see a zombie on the ground still on fire, that means that they are they're not dead and they're going to get back up.
Double tap.
Yeah, a double tap.
Yeah, you don't want to risk it, them coming up.
Yeah, it's a little bit gamey.
Will this be the only section we see the fire zombies, or is there a chance that they will appear again?
That's a good question. I don't think we've really talked about that.
What?
Oh, the party room, yeah. That's where a little thing, some people, the OGs will remember, that out of office thing. There used to be, before we had 173, at least I think.
It was in there, right?
Yeah, the model of 173 was in there, and then when we added 173, the out of office sign went up, and he moved to the.
I think there was like a little miniature version of 173 that was sitting on 173's shoulder or something. As
Yeah.
well.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, there was a baby 173 on 173. It's a fun little reference, because this area, this office room, has been in the game since this specific room actually has been in the game probably the longest in every single version of Area 12. Like, this is like the 4th version of Area 12, and the 5th or 6th version of this area, particularly. And this specific room has stuck through all of it. As well, there's a secret. If you pick up the Glock in this room, it's got green sights, because that's originally what the sights of the Glock look like. Because yeah, this room's been around for so long.
Can't get rid of it now. I actually like that meeting room quite a bit.
I enjoy the window, like, that's why adding shootable windows was so nice, because I just go through and shoot all of the windows.
There was a zombie in the bathroom with a party hat.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
And like in the next area, you can, like, there's a couple of places where in order to avoid certain enemies, you can shoot out the windows and like vault through them. Which, like, when I realized that we could do that, I was like going to the level designers, can we do this more, please? This is amazing.
Well, that is the kind of key. Like, I remember one of the reasons why Duke Nukem 3D was such a revelation was because there were so many interactable objects. You could, like, flush the toilet. You could open up the door. You could do so much. And the D class are now praying at the altar of the toilet. It is the sacred toilet. I'm not. Oh, it's Pickle Rick! Oh my God, Pickle Rick! Oh, you have to have a really.
Pickle, actually.
It doesn't matter. They think he's Pickle Rick.
We could put El Barney's profile picture on the pickle, make it green, and it'd be Pickle Barney.
Yeah, that'll work. I think most of the pickles are still in the game. I remember people for a while were finding all the, like, the first time around, finding all the pickles and stuff, because there's like 6 pickles in the game or something, just hidden inside objects and various places. Just because I was bored.
How many polys do you think that should be?
It's like 2,000 polys. It's like one of those Quixel mega scans. Like, they 3D scanned a pickle in the highest definition you could possibly put in. It's just in there. I mean, it doesn't have an impact on performance because it gets culled so small, but it's a very high poly pickle. I think the original, like, you can use the high poly version. Obviously, we're in Unreal 4, so we don't. But the original version of that pickle is like 10k poly or something like that. A lot. Like a whole character head instead of just a pickle.
Ah, door squid!
That was so good. Oh, that's my favorite. Watching people just walk straight into the door squid is my favorite thing.
So the door squid is another great affray addition to the SCP canon. I guess my kind of question is, what came to the philosophy in terms of, like, you know,
Did you eat a zombie?
Are you about to ask, like, why we decided to make the door squid and what was the reasoning behind it?
No, I was more curious, like, how many door squids can you put in the level, and what's your philosophy of, like, what's too many door squids and what's the right amount of door squid? But yeah, if you want to go into the philosophy of, like, why did you make this horrible abomination? What made you unleash this horrible thing upon to torment players?
Well, let's answer the original 2 questions first. I'll answer one of them, and Albarni can answer, like, how many we can put into space before it kills everything. But I think it has to do more with narrative. Like, there's a timeline that exists before you sort of raid Area 12, and also there's a whole history of, like, the people that worked here and what's happened. And the door squids are kind of like this thing that just exists here, and have been here since the early days. And they're kind of like cockroaches in a way. Like, they're always there's this infestation that they're well aware of, and they've kind of just gotten accustomed to dealing with them to the extent that they'll eventually, you'll see, like, little caution on, like, warning posters that they made reminding people, you know, if you see a door squid, you know, let management know and remember to keep these things in mind, that kind of thing. So in these higher levels, like where we're at now in the beginning of the game, we don't see a whole lot of them because they don't really get up here very often. If they do, we can contain them. But in deeper, older parts of the facility that aren't used as much or are renovated, some of those areas may have been taken over by them completely, and it's much harder to distinguish one door from the next, and there's a lot more of them.
Yeah. I think we added these 2 door squids and they're the funnest ones. In terms of how many we can add, like, I think at a certain point, if we added too many, like beyond the lore implications that Trey was talking about, if we added too many, you'd get too used to them, and it would become either annoying or just easy because you just know all the time. But having enough time in between them, at least at the start, where you'll forget about them after a while, and you'll have a thing like that where like you saw on the screen, one careless player was just just walked through the hallway without thinking and just got eaten, and that's what you want. You want players to like forget about it, almost like simulating a mimetic effect, right? Where they forget about it and suddenly you can surprise them again. Just keep coming back.
Yeah, and that kind of goes into answering the thing that you said, which was, what was the reason? What was the philosophy behind them? And I will say as well, I often like I played a big part in putting together like the design and the approach with these door squids, and even then, I still forget that they're in the game and they kill me quite often.
Yeah.
But the reason we wanted to do it was because we wanted something else that was a unique and interesting enemy, but also encouraged the tactical decision making and movement and like the attention to your environment. So it slowed you down and it helped discourage this from becoming like a run and gun kind of game. It's not a boomer shooter. It's not Doom, right? So we want to encourage and enforce that tactical approach, and also make it feel more horrifying, and having to be worried about walking around a corner and anything in the room could eat you. That kind of helped support that a little bit more, and will keep players on their toes, because it may not always be a wooden door, for the record. So don't get too used to them. Try to be vigilant and pay attention. Secretly, the other reason, a third reason, was because I think it's endlessly funny to watch speedrunners just get yanked by these guys.
Yeah, it adds an extra skill. Like if people who either, whether it's because they're not paying attention or because like they're intentionally trying to speedrun, like having an extra thing that can catch them, and so they have to keep in mind, adds more skill, and also adds more to the tactical, like trying to find ways other than just like some games will remove sprinting entirely, some games will make sprinting have stamina or slow it down or anything like that, but finding interesting ways to force players to slow down and like hug the walls, go through the corners, it's fun, and we have a lot of opportunities with SCP. Like you couldn't do that in a regular tactical shooter. You can't have a door a door mimic thing that will eat you if you go too fast, right? So just using
I'm actually
the tools
really happy that
around.
people have kind of latched onto and embraced the sort of nickname that we gave it. Me and El Barney both sat down and we were like, we want to come up with like a weird kind of name for these guys that just it doesn't sound so threatening, and then all of a sudden you discover it and you're like, this is a door squid. Oh my fucking god.
Yeah.
I'm glad it carried over.
Squid. It's so good because I mean, if anyone hasn't figured it out, squids are known for like there's
Camouflage,
certain types
right?
of squids that will, camouflage, and they will pick up things like seaweed and stuff. And there's certain types of squids and other sort of marine animals where like you'll see this thing and they'll stick out their tongue and grab like some small fish that's foolish enough to get too close. And that was like exactly the thing. It's like, well, it's a door squid, and you're the fish.
Well, here's the question though: can you educate it? Have you ever seen the documentary film My Octopus Teacher? Can you have a friendship with the door squid?
That's a really interesting idea. Like somebody's trained a door squid, because you can. One of the things, we don't have many glow sticks as items in Area 12, but if you throw a glow stick at it, it will actually eat the glow stick, and you can go past without like having to sneak. And similarly, so that's an interesting idea. Like the idea that someone somewhere might have like spent the time to like train it. It's probably pretty intelligent. You could. That's great.
That would be a really fun NPC character, just to have like the Ratman from Half-Life, but he's like a surviving SCP scientist, and he's like he plays fetch with the door squid.
That would be awesome. I think the Foundation certainly has their fair share of Ratman like characters, I'd say.
Zin through the circle asks, I have a question for everybody. Does anybody feel sick of the new body cam mode? Trey spoke a little bit about the body cam earlier. What was the design process to making sure it felt immersive, but didn't make people nauseous?
Oh, that's interesting. I'm guessing that the sickness is probably because of the extreme fisheye effect on it, which it's similar. Like there's another technique called panini projection, which is sort of the opposite of what we have going on with the body cam mode. It can definitely make people nauseous. So I totally feel you there, especially when we made it. I had to tone it down because it definitely made a lot of people nauseous. In terms of the design process, I was just looking at because I had the fun task of implementing the body cam mode, at least in terms of the visual effect. The sound team obviously were doing the cool stuff with the sound. I was really focusing on trying to emulate like the low quality, high distortion, blurry lens effect of actual body cams, and then I just did some tweaking at the end to try and make it less nausea inducing. But unfortunately, with effects like this, especially when you mess with FOV and distortion and stuff, certain players are going to get more motion sickness. It's similar with the screen anomaly. We're going to have to figure out something to help with that, because some of our QA testers feel sick when going through the screen anomaly area because it moves your vision while you're moving. So that's always a struggle, and it's just trying to balance like not limiting ourselves too much while also not making people vomit when trying to play our game.
It is like a delicate balance, but body cams are the rage. Everyone seems to love. Does Call of Duty have a body cam yet? If not, I'm sure it's coming any day now.
I don't know. Yeah, we put it in. We didn't want to like chase trends, but we saw a couple of people like modding the game, and people were like downloading mods off of Nexus to implement a body cam and stuff like that, which is like awesome and we love. But then it's like, oh well, a lot of people wanted this, and as an optional feature that you can turn on in the options, let's just put it in, right? It's easier to implement it directly into the game. May as well, right?
Well, why not give people more options to play? I hope I can see some awesome TikTok footage of people taking advantage of it, because I know people have requested it. And another big thing that has been requested for a long time that I believe is now fully in the game is the checkpoint system. I think it rolled out in 14.1, but wasn't there I was reading through the patch notes, there was some more modification to the checkpoint system in 15?
Yeah, so originally, like with the checkpoint system, the V1 of that in 0.14 was if you die and you reach the checkpoint, instead of starting back from the very start of the whole chapter, you would start off at that checkpoint. But obviously, if the game crashed, and there was a couple of crashes in that version that were pretty rough, or if you just you had to go to work, or a lot of people have kids or lives outside of gaming, right? You'd be tough out of luck, right? You'd have to go through and play the whole thing again. So now in this update, once you've unlocked a checkpoint, it saves it, and it saves your loadout and stuff. And you go into the main menu, you can select from the checkpoint and start from there. It's nice. The idea is it's just nice and simple. It's not like some complicated system. It's just you select it, you start from yeah. I hope it helps with those who have less time for gaming and need to do it in smaller.
Less punishments gives you a little bit more flexibility, which is always nice. But then it's a difficult mix between. Here are the crabs are coming back. I heard that there were some new additions to SCP-98 in this update. What had everyone's favorite crab people? What have you done with them?
Well, I mean, there's an interesting thing, because the development of 0.15 came in a couple of parts, because originally we were going to do like an update and a patch, and we ended up rolling the patch into the update. But yeah, the thing with the crabs, they have a couple of new attacks. Like they can jump at you now and do various different swats like that. But we also had to balance them because after adding those in, there's a bug in the game right now which we didn't have time to fix, where enemies can occasionally, they hit you right, they will headshot you. And so what would happen is the crabs would jump and then they would headshot the players and kill them immediately. So we actually had to balance the crabs a little bit because of that, because all of our QA testers couldn't play it solo because the crabs would jump on them and end the run immediately. Funny. But yeah, we have a couple of systems that we actually just finished because we've been working on 0.16 already for a while. There's a lot of development that has to go into that, but like we've been doing some sort of things where when certain parts of the team are done on one update, they go into the next update. One of the cool new features that will be 0.16 that I can reveal is reveal animation. So some characters, instead of just like go into a room, they're already there, or they come around the corner, you can actually now give them an animation where they're like hiding in a vent or hiding in a corner. When you reach them, they'll actually like crawl out of that. Gives us more opportunities to unsettle.
Exciting. Yeah, the more animation. Well, hopefully, maybe we'll see a jumping attack as they're battling the crabs. But another thing, now that we 0.15 is out, can I reveal when the original launch date we were intending to be?
Good question, Trey. What do you think?
What's the question?
Can I reveal?
Now that
it's out, can I reveal what the original launch date for 0.15 was?
I guess there's not really a harm in it. Barney, do you have any issues?
I think it's fine. Yeah.
So originally, the plan was to have it in August. So if any of you who are following the community events, I had that road to update 1.15 going, and the idea was it was supposed to lead into August. But unfortunately, that did not. The scope of getting the gray box, or doing a good gray box and getting the pit fight. But in the end, I think it paid off to like pull back and roll the main patch and the sub patch together, since you got a more fuller, more polished experience.
Yeah, and that's what actually allowed us to get the checkpoint in. We fixed a load of crashes. Like DirectX 12 would crash all the time previously, and we had to have like a disclaimer, but we actually managed to fix that crash, a bunch of other ones, and a lot of bugs on top of like a lot of the features that we were originally going to just put in the patch afterwards. We could have it all at once, so like you can experience all of this new content.
We had no plans to include an expansion to logistics or doing any work with 3199 for this update, but because we ended up pushing this off, a lot of members of the team, especially from level design, they were like, well, we would love to go ahead and tackle this now if we can. And the team really they pushed themselves pretty hard to make that happen, but they did a tremendously good job, and I'm glad that we did it. We want to try not to do that in the future, but it was really nice to be able to include some extra things like that.
Yeah. Like if we'd done an update and a patch, we definitely we wouldn't have been able to just add that stuff to the patch necessarily, because whenever you do an update, you need 2 weeks for QA, and you need to do a lot of scheduling to make sure that the update isn't breaking new stuff and stuff like that. So putting it all into one allowed us to unlock that time for actually spending extra time on things on top of the extra time that we added by delaying it.
Yeah.
So it was a win-win.
You mentioned something a lot of people don't know, and I try to bring this up as often as I can when we do these, but it's not so much a complaint, because nobody knows these things, but it's just adding something new to the game, adding a new enemy, a new mechanic, a new behavior, expanding a level. What that does is it introduces a bunch of new possibilities for new bugs, and it's not just possibilities, there always are new bugs whenever you add something new to the game. So it's not as simple as just making a new thing and dropping it in. it's going to break things, and then you have to spend time fixing it. And if you don't spend time fixing it well enough, then people are going to be upset because it's breaking while they're playing it. So it takes a while to put something new.
And it's just a fact of life. Like I mean, a lot of games you wouldn't know even how much time they spend on QA and whether they even do it as a gamer, because they don't really tell you much about it. But like people often think of it like a bug is a failure of programming, but it's like it is just something that you cannot, because there's so many possibilities and so many different systems interacting. The bugs just happen. Like we have to include it as part of our process that like there will be bugs, we will fix them, and we have to allocate time for this. Because if you don't, you get burnt real fast. And before we had QA, it was on just essentially myself to find all those, and that was impossible. So now we have QA. It's really awesome, but we need to make sure we give the QA the time to actually like go through all of the different possibilities. They have like whole sheets of like every feature in the game, every game mode, every map, and all the combinations that they go through. Really cool. Maybe at some point we can get Aaron in here he's our QA lead. Oh wow, that definitely fell through the elevator.
Oh
that
no.
one's still in there. Yeah, like we can get him in here at some point to explain that for a community event. But
we've had him before. But we'll definitely have him come again. Aaron's a blast. I always love him. The last time he was here, he just went on started talking like Arthur Morgan, so it just became like a Red Dead talking event.
By the way, to people watching and seeing and experiencing this elevator bug, I just want you to know that there's not a special button for the developers where we turn off that bug. We have to deal with it too, and we hate it just as much, if not more.
Oh, it's so I have I've spent so much time on that bug, because especially when we added elevators into, I think one of the things that we just did was we made the floor of the elevator thicker so that it would be less likely to fall through. But I've spent so much time on that elevator bug. It is my bane. We had a lot of elevators in the dorms and prison area later in the game, and I think we fixed the falling through the elevator for those ones mostly. And also, when the elevator's going down, you don't have to worry about going through it. But the problem is like, it's a very technical thing, but essentially Unreal's character movement has a lot of like safeguards to make it sync nicely and not lag out all the time. But when you introduce a moving platform into that, it has a lot harder of a time, because you need to make sure that the elevator is not moving so much that it moves into the player, and the player thinks, oh no, I'm clipping through something, I need to fix that and put myself through the floor. Yeah, one day we'll fix it.
What makes elevators such a tricky element of game design? It feels like elevators have always been kind of like a wonky thing throughout all time. There's not one generation of, no matter how powerful a console becomes or a PC is, elevators are always just kind of like wonky in all engines.
Yeah, Gooms has it right. It's networking, because you need to sync. Like when you sync things over the network, they all get synced separately, like at different times. And so the problem is, and the latency can be different too. So the problem is on my end as a player, I am like in one position, right? I'm, let's say, 10 meters high, but by the time I get the position of the elevator from the server, it's been 50 to 200 milliseconds. So when I get the position of the elevator, it might be slightly higher than I am, and then I send my position over to the server, and the server verifies that, and on the server there's been another 200 milliseconds, and so it's never synced up because we're all sending all these positions between each other. That's an interesting bug to see. And so it is effectively impossible to actually have all three synced up. So you have to add in some some give, like where it's like, oh, sure, you're meant to be in an elevator, let's just move you up to the elevator. The difficulty is making sure you understand the difference between the player jumping off the elevator, the difference between the player falling off the elevator and the player just being on the elevator while it's moving, and that's why it so many.
Blast you, internet. Oh, there's Beppis and Conk. They still live. Oh, no!
They killed Beppis.
They killed Beppis. They killed Conk. Was that new? I thought you couldn't destroy them before.
It depends on the one, because if a level designer just places it in, it won't be shootable. But if they place in like this blueprint that like you can interact with and get the can out of, then these ones are shootable. Someone else is noting what is going to happen with inspection kits and maintenance. Currently, the placement on the map doesn't really work due to the new storage zone for 319. Inspection kit. Are you talking about the old maintenance section of the logistics? Because that area, even if it's still technically in the map, is removed now. Where that one's gone.
We have an interesting question from Andrew R. For SCP-7528, I believe that's the screen anomaly. Can we have an option to use the old animations, actually find those older ones more frightening? Was there any reason why you changed the screen anomaly?
I don't think we did, but what you might have noticed is it depends on how many screens you shoot. So it's no secret we have plans to rework the screen anomaly when we get back around to it. But one of the mechanics that is not really explained to the player is while shooting screens will cut off its options for movement, it will make it more angry. And so the animation it shows is depending on how many screens you've shot. And it'll actually go faster. So if you don't shoot any screens and just hide, it will be much slower. It'll take longer to kill you. And it will have like a slightly more passive animation. And as you shoot more screens, its animation becomes more aggressive and its movement becomes much faster and more erratic.
It's a perfect example of like something that seems like a simple cause and effect that you could pick up on. Many people don't realize that that's what's happening, and that's one of those things where it's like you got to be really careful about how you communicate things to the player, because they just may not telegraph well.
Yeah, and often, like, I have to say this to programmers a lot, but we also consider it for design, is like sometimes doing a super clever system that's all systematic and automatic and dynamic is not the best option. And we've ran into that with a lot of different things, like with spawning waves of creatures. Like for the pit, originally we had this dynamic, like super cool system that the level designers set up, where it would like spawn different resonators at different times, and depending on how quickly you killed them, and you'd have to kill each wave before the next one came in and stuff like that. But the problem was, it just adds so much complexity. The players have to figure it out. The players have to play perfectly. And if you don't work with that within that system, it just doesn't work. So often we have to make things more hard coded, less smart, just in order to make the game more resilient.
X-Dreeper asks, what update will water treatment be reworked? What are your plans for the good old habitat of those crab monsters?
Oh, Barney, you can answer. I think I'll give away too much.
I don't think we can say when or what the plans are. We do have plans with water treatment, but it'll be different.
Crabs
Okay.
aren't done. Crabs aren't done.
The crabs aren't done. There's a lot more things to do with crabs.
The crabs aren't done. There's more crab. Well, it almost reminds me of my favorite song from South Park. Crab people, look like crabs, talk like people, crab people. I love that little ditty.
Are they just crabs that can talk?
There we
Oh,
go.
I see.
Good.
I haven't watched that episode. I see. Yeah, crab people.
It's a very
Oh,
old
they're
one.
very diverse. They seem open-minded. Lots of different colors there.
Well, they were very fashionable. They introduced metrosexuality to the people of South Park so they could overpower them. So they're very stylish.
Wow. I see. That's very interesting.
So, is there
I've only
anything?
watched bits of stuff.
The D class have finished running through chapter 1. Is there anything else you'd like to show off that you'd want them to play right now? Anything worth showcasing?
I mean, there's a couple of secrets, but we can't tell you about those.
Oh, so you got to go hunting. How about some PvP in Outpost Axiom? That's a recent new multiplayer map, right?
Yeah, it's fairly new. I think in the last update we added a special PvP rotation for Outpost Axiom, and it always benefits from the improvements to the guards AI. Like now they'll actually look around properly and they have more complex investigation, more better cover, and stuff like that. So it's definitely worth giving that a check out. I don't know, maybe our D class are tired and ready for rest. Usually we don't give the D class rest. We just rush the web.
Oh, true.
Recycle them.
It is Halloween. We would like to allow them to, enjoy some candies in their cells, sit back and chill. So we could definitely wrap things up if we want to let the D class rest and let you guys go back to enjoying Halloween with your friends and family. Your call. But it was a pleasure having you talk over the gameplay. Xstreeper asks, when devlog, when update 0.16, when 17, when 0.18?
Soon, next year.
So there you have it. The devlog I know is coming very, very soon. Can't say how soon, but very, very soon. And those updates will hit sometime next year as the fray continues to burn the midnight oil and light those fires. But this was a very fun event. Should we do maybe a rapid fire 5 minutes of questions before we wrap up?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, here you go, gents. We were wrapping up shop to end for the Halloween evening, but what is your questions? Let them go, loose them out. You have the 2 highest authorities at a fray who can answer your high-level questions. Will there be justice for Bananazilla? Will the SCP Expanded Universe come? Losing Sanity asks, hey, when's the next 20-player server night? That was super fun. Dominated PvP. Good question. I could probably do that soon. I have to coordinate with Al Barney. Al Barney, what do you say?
Yeah, we can do that soon. I can set up a server for that.
You see, I have to come up to Al Barney, nice in hand, and say, please, Al Barney, can we play some more? And, then he goes,
Can I have some server?
Can I have some server? And then he selects it. Oh, wow. It looks so cool. I haven't seen messed around too much with the geo. My old computer, it always I fall through the cracks, so I can never get the level to load. It does look really nice. Zin Through the Circle asks, are there plans to give SCP-173-B more brothers, or is that just a bug that happened?
Are you talking about having duplicates of 173B? There's only
Yes.
supposed to be one. That's just a bug.
Okay, so there is just one. That's just a bug. Chipster asks, will we be able to customize our characters during the campaign?
During the campaign? That's an Barney question.
Maybe not during, but being able to select your faction before. We have some plans in terms of progression. It's definitely we want to make it so that it takes more effort to get that stuff, and so we have some plans for ways that you could eventually, after you finish the game and all that, play through the game as a different faction and stuff like that. Not like a completely different campaign, but just whether you were to play through as GOC or some of the other factions we have planned. We definitely want to try out that. I mean, who knows, maybe plans will change, but it would be a lot of fun, and that's something that we're hoping to do.
Will we get updated night vision goggles from Crimson Rose?
I mean, yeah, we're always improving it, right? We have a couple of plans to make it more interesting. Right, Trey?
Yeah, I was gonna say the night vision and the flashlight. We have plans to make more interesting. So.
Yeah.
Are there any plans for NPC interactions?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. My response already is probably telling, kind of, maybe.
Yeah.
There might be more characters to
At
interact.
some point in the campaign, there'll be
Yeah.
NPCs of various forms.
You might be able to talk to someone.
One of our D-class asks, "Can I get more rations? I did testing, please. My D-class family needs it." So here's the big question: are you going to give the D-class Hershey's or Mr. Beast Feastables, or are we just going to like give them moldy lunchly?
Let them eat cake.
Yeah, moldy lunch. Give them like the. Yeah, that's interesting.
Are we going to get a D-class karma system?
D-class karma system. I mean, we want to give various different rewards to the D-class, so maybe we'll figure out. Oh, you mean like for shooting D-class in the game? That's a good question.
We have a bunch of ideas revolving how we want to handle our progression system, so nothing concrete that we can share.
Yeah, there's various things. There's a lot of opportunities with the D-class because I mean D-classes in the characters in the game, not the testers. That's different. But
They're the same, right?
yeah,
Neither of them are real people.
So every time you have a D-class character in the game, it's actually one of our testers. They have to join the game every time you play. So be kind to them. But no, yeah, we have there's a lot of fun stuff we can do. Right now, they're essentially a variant of the guard AI with different voices and different, slightly different behavior. But we want to do more stuff with that, make it more interesting.
You guys made official SCP entries onto the wiki. What are those, and do you have plans to implement them in the game soon? I mean, aren't they already technically in the game? I mean, the screen anomalies in the game, the door squids in the game. Dave was in the game, but I'm sure he'll be back. So aren't they technically in the game?
Yeah, we have a couple in the game. I think there's some lore entries that were made by members of the team that aren't in the game. Whether that's because they're not yet or because they just won't be because they're like adjacent. Like there's a couple of things that are just like sort of to do with the lore, but not necessarily objects that you'd need to find in the game. So yeah, like a couple of them are already there.
Zintu the Circle asks, could you have SCP pets like 9999?
I think that you'd be looking for a different kind of game.
Oh, come on. You don't want to have mounts?
I mean, I think canonically, this upsets me a lot, by the way, but canonically in the SCP-5000 universe, they killed SCP-99, which 999, sorry, which is just cruel.
Not just that, but in this adaptation, we get into specifics about how it was killed. And it was more or less the equivalent of putting a baby in a blender.
Honestly, that's my least favorite part of the lore, because it's like a benign creature, but
yeah,
like
a baby in a blender.
Yeah.
Well, Wen says you can't kill happiness, but I look forward to when you can see that. Since the Circle list asks, any plans on implementing any MTF?
Maybe.
I'll just say maybe.
Maybe.
Crimson Rose asks, will you get to see scientists appear?
Yeah, we have models for those. They're just not in the game yet.
I was gonna say, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, it's
Amari doesn't know what he's talking about. He needs a break. He's been working too hard.
You'll see some form of scientist.
No, there will be no scientist. It's propaganda.
Okay, it's propaganda. Yeah, sure. There's no scientists. Yeah.
How could you see any scientists? Everyone's dead, right? Right.
Everyone's dead, guys. There's no
Right.
scientists.
Right.
What are you talking about? I mean,
you could have like whatchamacallit, Professor Klein, who has like a pet head SCP-93 that he wears on his head. Everyone's little
DB.
favorites.
he's completely harmless, Gordon.
And Silenced asks, so Devastators, right? People, the worst kept secret.
No comment.
Devastator is still redacted. We'll have to wait for.
I don't think you'll be too devastated.
Yeah, you won't be.
I hate myself for that one. That's awful.
Yeah.
All right, so it's time to send the D class back. They will have to discover in their cells if they got Hershey's or Feastables. Time will tell. And thank you everyone for coming out to hang out with us, the D class boys. For this event. Stay tuned. The devlog will be dropping soon. We will let you know on the socials when it goes live. And stay tuned for upcoming events. Sorry I couldn't do a Halloween movie night. Priorities shifted, but I'm glad that we got everything out that we wanted to. But there will be more movie nights, more events, more developer interviews, more game nights, and fun community contests. So thank you, everyone, for coming. It was a pleasure to host you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. See ya. Happy Halloween.
Update now live.
20% off. Get it on Steam. All right. And with that, I end the YouTube stream. And